Last winter, I found my stepfather Frank alone in the dining room, while my mother held Rachel's bloodied apron. The family portrait behind him was torn, just like everything else. When Attorney Blake called for protection, Frank just smirked. That's when I knew, to save Rachel, I had to burn the house down. And I did. That was 3 months ago. Frank hasn't set foot near us since. When I was 17, every dawn started the same, Rachel and I, tying our aprons, while the men laughed in their sleep. We scrubbed Frank's boots, folded Sean's suits, all while pretending it was duty. I remember my hands raw from bleach, Rachel's eyes swollen from crying. That morning, Frank passed us with his insidious calm and said, "Serve with pride." My fists clenched so tight, my nails broke skin. That was the first time I questioned tradition. On my 18th birthday, Rachel whispered about escaping. Just once, in the pantry, her apron soaked in dishwater. She traced bus routes on old receipts, hoping. That night, Brandon caught us talking and told Frank. At dinner, Frank's insidious calm masked fury as he said, "Girls who dream forget their place." He made Rachel eat on the floor. I stared at my untouched plate, rage swelling. That was the night I knew silence made me his accomplice. During last year's claiming day, Sean yanked Rachel by the arm, forcing her to kneel and tie his boots. I stepped forward, voice shaking, and told him to stop. Frank's insidious calm sliced through the room. He smiled, then said, "She's fulfilling her role." Linda looked away. I helped Rachel up, and she clung to me like air. That night, I searched for shelters. For the first time, I wondered if I could break us both free. 2 weeks later, I found Rachel's apron stuffed in the trash, torn and stained. She said nothing, just stared blankly through the window as Brandon laughed in the hallway. I stitched the apron by hand that night, whispering plans, bus schedules, a contact named Detective Cole. When Frank passed behind me, his insidious calm lingered like smoke. "Fix what's broken," he said. I nodded, but my needle slipped. I was done mending what should be burned. The night Rachel tried to flee, Frank stormed into the kitchen, fists tight. I blocked the doorway as she scrambled behind me. "Move," he said, his insidious calm barely masking fury. "You're choosing a stray over your own blood." I grabbed the cast iron skillet, my hands trembling. Linda screamed from the stairs. Rachel clutched the torn apron behind me. "She's not yours to claim," I shouted. In that moment, I chose betrayal over blind obedience. Frank lunged, but I swung the skillet not to hurt, just to stop him. He froze, eyes wild, the insidious calm finally cracking. Rachel fled past him, out the back. I screamed for Linda to call Detective Cole. Frank stared at me like I'd become a stranger. Maybe I had. Maybe that was the point. As sirens wailed in the distance, I dropped the skillet and realized I hadn't just fought back. I had broken free. The police arrived as Linda held Frank back, tears streaming. Detective Cole took one look at Rachel's torn apron and nodded grimly. "She's safe now," he said, but I couldn't breathe. Brandon stood in the shadows, arms crossed, his smirk nearly echoing Frank's insidious calm. "You've ruined everything," he hissed, maybe, but I saw Rachel's silhouette in the cruiser, alive, unclaimed. And I knew, betrayal had finally severed the chains they swore were blood. At the hospital, Rachel sat wrapped in a blanket, her hands still shaking. I handed her the stitched apron, now clean, a relic of everything we'd endured. She gripped it, then whispered, "Burn it." Outside, Attorney Blake was already filing emergency injunctions. Frank's insidious calm returned during questioning, claiming it was misunderstood tradition. But his eyes met mine, and faltered. He saw it too. The apron's power had shifted, it no longer bound us. It condemned him. I brought Rachel's testimony to the district office, expecting swift action. Instead, they stalled, citing insufficient evidence and cultural nuance. My stomach turned. Frank's insidious calm had already wormed its way into their ears. "We can't interfere in family customs," one agent said. I left, fists clenched, apron clutched like a flag of war. Rachel's safety wasn't secured by law. It had to be secured by us. So I called the first contact in our network. I met Leanne, a former housemaid who had escaped years ago. She agreed to help. But later, I caught her on a call with Brandon. "She's planning another extraction," she whispered. Betrayal seared through me. I'd trusted her. Frank's insidious calm wasn't just a presence. It was a virus infecting loyalties. I left the safe house immediately, warning Rachel to stay hidden. From now on, I'd vet every ally. The network would rise, but only from scorched ground. Detective Cole sent me an unmarked file audio of Frank instructing Brandon. "Keep her quiet. She talks, we all go down." Hearing Frank's insidious calm dripping through the recording made my skin crawl. I forwarded it to Attorney Blake, who said, "This changes everything." For the first time, we had undeniable proof. I copied it to 5 flash drives, labeled each with the apron's symbol. If they silenced me, the truth would still roar. That night, my apartment door was cracked open, files scattered, flash drives missing. Except one I'd hidden inside Rachel's apron lining. My pulse thundered. On the wall, in red ink, someone had scrawled "traitor." Frank's insidious calm wasn't just verbal now. It was invasive, physical. I called Cole, but he warned, "They're watching everyone close to you." I packed a bag, clutched the apron, and vanished into the network. This wasn't rebellion anymore, it was war. I reached the safe house in Detroit, expecting sanctuary. Instead, a woman named Camilla met me at the door, armed. "Password?" she asked coldly. I stammered, "Apron thread." Her eyes softened. Inside, 5 women nurses, students, ex-wives waited in silence. Each had fled their own claiming day. One held a burnt apron like a torch. I realized then, this wasn't just about Rachel or me. We were the front line of a growing movement. Frank had created his own storm. Attorney Blake called. Court had denied our petition. They're calling it a domestic misunderstanding. My vision blurred. Frank's insidious calm could poison judges too. We need public pressure, Blake said. I leaked the audio to a trusted journalist. Within hours, social media erupted. Hashtag surged. #break the apron. My inbox flooded with survivor stories. We weren't just exposing tradition, we were indicting it. And Frank, he was still pretending nothing had changed, but the world was finally watching. Rachel nearly collapsed when a news van showed up near her shelter. They'll find me, she whispered. I rushed her into the van's floorboards, heart pounding. A red herring turned out they were covering a nearby protest. But the damage was done. She didn't sleep that night. I stayed up with her, both of us gripping the apron like armor. Her trust cracked but not shattered. You still want to keep fighting? She asked. I nodded. Now more than ever. The next morning, a delivery arrived. Flowers. No card, but inside, an apron napkin stitched with the word repent. I froze. Brandon. His methods were messier than Frank's, but just as cruel. Detective Cole traced the florist. Cash payment, false name, stay off grid. He warned. I moved Rachel again. The network was growing, but so was the threat. For every woman we rescued, they retaliated harder. Still, we didn't stop. Our rebellion was stitched into every seam. At a covert meeting, Camilla brought a USB drive. Security footage, Sean dragging a girl into the estate's west wing. My throat closed, not Rachel. Another, I recognized the hallway, the hideous wallpaper. We uploaded it anonymously. Hours later, Frank issued a press statement. His insidious calm was now scripted. We uphold family discipline with respect. The internet tore him apart. Yet in private, he doubled down. I saw it coming. A final act to silence us all. They targeted Blake next. Her office was ransacked, car tires slashed. She messaged, I'm not backing down. I sent her a stitched apron patch as a symbol, our own badge of resistance. That night, the network activated. New safe routes, burner phones, a hotline. For every threat, we planted strength. The apron no longer represented servitude. It was strategy. Even if Frank's insidious calm still loomed, we weren't afraid. The women were mobilizing, and we were done being silent. A teenager named Joe called our hotline, whispering, my claiming day is next week. Her voice cracked with fear. We rerouted her to a network driver, but the driver never showed. Joe vanished. My hands shook as I updated the logs. She never had a chance, Camilla muttered. Frank's insidious calm had evolved. He was intercepting us. We switched tactics, delivered messages, coded emails. We weren't just rescuing anymore. We were trying to outpace a legacy that devoured girls. Then came the hacker, codenamed Nora. She reached out through encrypted mail, offering data, bank transfers, private emails, claiming rosters. Her price? Shut them down. She'd been one of them once. I wired her credentials to Blake. Within a day, we had a list of 14 women scheduled for claiming across 5 towns. Rachel wept reading it. I kissed her forehead. This time, we'll reach them first. Our map was marked. Our strategy, disrupt everything Frank built. We hit 3 sites in one night. Mobile alerts, drivers in place, contacts waiting. 4 girls escaped, 2 were caught. 1, Erin, messaged later. They locked me in the cellar. I sent her a voice note. Hold on, we're coming. That week, I stopped sleeping. The apron on my wall reminded me why. Frank's insidious calm still lingered in every hesitation, every silence. But now the silence was breaking. We were louder, we were coordinated, we were many. Frank retaliated through court. A defamation suit. Against me, Blake, and even Rachel. The charges were laughable, but the headline damage was real. Family abuse hoax, one outlet read. Rachel folded the article into her apron pocket. Let them see what comes next, she whispered. Blake filed countersuits. Cole leaked another audio clip, Sean bragging about training new girls. Our inbox exploded again. The apron symbol now trended globally. And still, Frank sat behind that insidious calm. Rachel testified publicly for the first time. Her voice trembled at first, then sharpened. She held the torn apron up, saying, this was my chain, now it's my shield. The room fell silent. Frank watched from the back, his insidious calm cracking at the edges. For once, his silence didn't control the narrative. The press called it a reckoning. Survivors from other towns started coming forward. We weren't just exposing a tradition. We were igniting a reckoning. That night, I got a message. Your house is next. Brandon had escalated. Cameras caught him circling my block. Cole sent an escort, but I refused to run again. Instead, I strung an apron in the front window, stained and torn, like a warning. The network reinforced my home. New locks, backups, watchers. Let him come, Rachel said beside me. We're not hiding anymore. We had fear, yes, but we also had fury and purpose. Brandon finally slipped, caught on camera threatening Nora's sister outside a grocery store. Cole moved fast. A raid, arrest, charges. The network buzzed with relief, but I knew Frank wasn't done. His insidious calm still poisoned holes of power. He'll make one last play, Blake warned. Rachel nodded. Then let's end it loud. We gathered every voice, every file, every apron ready for court, press, and protest. We weren't begging for justice anymore. We were delivering it. At the pretrial hearing, Frank addressed the court. These women are confused. They confuse duty with oppression. He held up a pristine apron like a relic. I rose, holding Rachel's tattered one. This isn't confusion. It's clarity bought with bruises. The gallery gasped. For once, Frank's insidious calm failed him. He stuttered. I looked him dead in the eyes. You taught us obedience. We taught each other defiance. The judge called recess. But momentum, that was ours now. 2 nights before trial, Linda came to me quietly. I found his journals, she said, sliding a worn box forward. Inside, names, dates, payments, proof of decades of control. Her hands shook. I should have stopped him years ago. I hugged her, apron between us. You're helping now. We scanned, encrypted, archived. Rachel cried, reading one name, her friend, long gone. This wasn't just evidence. It was a ledger of pain, and now it would be justice. The morning of trial, dozens stood outside in silence, each holding aprons. Burnt, ripped, marked with names. Reporters turned, cameras flashed. Inside, Frank sat alone. No Brandon, no Sean. Just his insidious calm unraveling into empty bravado. Rachel squeezed my hand. This is it. I nodded. We weren't daughters of obedience anymore. We were witnesses. Survivors, architects of dismantling. The apron had started as a shackle. Today, it was a banner, and we were its storm. After the verdict, guilty on all counts. I stepped outside and raised Rachel's apron high. The crowd erupted. I felt my knees weaken, not from fear but release. That scrap of cloth, once soaked in silence, now screamed freedom. I whispered, we did it, as Rachel leaned into me. For the first time, I saw Frank's legacy not as a curse, but as ashes. We hadn't just broken free, we'd taught others how to unlock the chains. I returned to the estate once, just once, to pack Linda's things. In the kitchen drawer, I found my first apron, frayed, faded, still smelling faintly of bleach. I didn't cry. I folded it, wrapped it in velvet, and mailed it to our new shelter in Ohio labeled, Never Again. Rachel smiled when I told her. Good, she said, let them see where we started. Every scar became a blueprint, every thread, part of our rebellion. At a conference 6 months later, I spoke beside Rachel. Behind us, a wall of aprons stitched from every woman the network had helped. Each one told a story of breaking free. I watched the crowd, some crying, others clenching fists. We weren't saved, I said. We escaped, we fought, Rachel added, and now we build. That night, 3 new shelters were funded. The apron wasn't history. It was revolution stitched by survivors' hands. Linda sent me a photo, her standing in front of a shelter, apron in hand, not worn but folded like a flag. For Rachel, her message read. I stared at it for a long time. The woman who once turned away now stood guard. Forgiveness wasn't instant, but it was starting. That image became our logo, not perfect, but powerful. I printed it, framed it, and hung it above our office door, home of the unclaimed. Sometimes I still wake up thinking I'm back in that house, apron in hand, silence pressing down. But then I hear Rachel laughing, kids playing outside the shelter window, the soft whir of sewing machines making new aprons, ones no longer tied to shame. I walk to my desk, pick up the original apron, and whisper, not today. We didn't just escape, we redefined survival. And in doing so, we rewrote what family means thread by thread. Frank received 35 years, no parole. His courtroom mask cracked, no insidious calm, just a stunned silence. The judge cited systemic abuse masquerading as tradition. Outside, protesters cheered. Survivors hugged. Rachel and I stood at the edge of the crowd, holding hands. He's done, she said. I nodded, but whispered, now we start. Because justice wasn't a gavel, it was what came next. Frank fell alone. We rose together, a network stitched from everything he tried to destroy. We opened our first permanent shelter in Chicago, the Threadline House. Inside, walls were lined with donated aprons, each tagged with a name, a date, a story. Rachel taught classes in self, defense, and sewing. Linda cooked meals for new arrivals. One woman arrived barefoot, clutching a scorched apron. Is this the place? She asked. I smiled. It's the beginning. That house didn't erase the past, but it gave survivors something rarer than justice belonging. A national magazine featured our movement front cover, Rachel holding the apron like a banner. The headline read, Breaking Free, the women who refused silence. Donations surged. Survivors reconnected across states. Blake received awards. Cole trained new units to spot covert family abuse. For once, the system bent toward truth. I stood before a mural of stitched aprons in our new training center and whispered, this is bigger than us now. And it was. Finally, at our 2-year anniversary, a teenage girl handed me an apron she'd stitched herself, bold red thread spelling unclaimed. She said, my mom escaped because of you. I hugged her tightly, blinking back tears. Rachel stood beside me, camera flashing. We weren't figureheads. We were proof. Proof that cycles break, that daughters don't have to inherit silence. The girl pinned her apron to the wall, beside mine. 2 generations, 1 message, and no more obedience stitched into cotton. One quiet evening, Rachel and I sat on the shelter porch, sipping tea as the sun dipped low. A breeze caught the aprons drying on the line, now symbols, not shackles. Do you regret it? She asked. I thought of Frank's insidious calm, now powerless. Only that we waited so long. I said, we smiled. Not every day needed noise. Some victories were quiet, stitched into laughter, safety, and freedom. And those were the loudest of all. At our final summit, hundreds gathered, survivors, allies, new leaders. I stood at the podium, holding the apron that started it all. We were told obedience was love, I said. We know better now. The crowd rose. Behind me, a quilt of donated aprons formed a mosaic. Scars transformed into strength. I folded mine, placed it in a glass case marked Never Again. We didn't just break free, we built the path. And now, others will walk it.